really about putting more input into the existing process. It's about fundamentally changing the process. And when I talk to folks who have implemented marketing automation technologies or just relaunched a lead to revenue initiative with the same technology, what I find often is that people have gotten some early success. I mean, think about it. The first time you automate anything, you're going to get some success. So you're going to find out the first time you automate lead to revenue management, that white paper download program that generates tons of leads doesn't generate any deals. Or that trade show we go to that is very expensive actually doesn't generate any deals. Or that Pebble Beach golf outing that the sales team says we must have every year doesn't generate any deals. You find out a lot of stuff simply by tracking. So you can benefit from harvesting the low-hanging fruit. The problem is when you get some early results, you can only harvest or pick low-hanging fruit once. And after that, you have to get down to fundamental change in the way you're doing things. So what I see happens a lot is people get some early success with their marketing automation program, and they say, yeah, you want 2,000 more leads just like that? We can do that. We're automated. We've got this. So they launch more campaigns. They get that inbound thing working. We end up increasing the inbound leads, increasing leads dramatically. We put in a basic nurturing program, 4 touches. We score the leads. I mean, we're running through all the basics of marketing automation. And then we promote those leads to sales. Now here's what is happening. What I'm seeing happening with many, many of my customers, my clients, is sales accepts the lead, because what salesperson doesn't accept a lead? They might complain about it, they may not do anything with it, but they accept it. So there are 3 things that I see happening very often. First of all, sales will accept the lead, and then basically put it on the back burner so they can close this quarter's deals. Because, God bless them, they deliver this quarter's revenue or we fire them. So they're very concerned about delivering this quarter's revenue. That doesn't do much for our lead. But what I also see happen a lot is they close the lead as dead because they don't immediately want to go to a proof of concept, or they don't have an open PO, or they don't have an open project. So that's a dead deal. So that one's gone. And then the kiss of slow death, where they put the lead into their pipeline as a 20% opportunity with a task to call in 3 months. Okay, so now this is what is happening, and it's because, to a large extent, we're so focused on generating leads that we're forgetting about the fact that marketing really has to take more ownership for the first part of the customer engagement process. And this is what I see, one of the easiest traps to fall into is that you gen up the lead generation machine, so you can get more leads to sales, because all of our careers, and for some of you the career hasn't been that long, but for some of you it has, but all of our careers we've been not giving enough leads to sales. So we give the leads to sales, but that's not what our customers want. Our customers need a different kind of engagement from us, and this is what kind of marketing has to step up to. So if you follow this process, you're really going to get yourself into the same old trap. Marketing says we're killing it on leads, and sales says I get nothing from marketing. So marketing teams working like demons. I mean, who here feels you're not contributing enough to your company in terms of the hours you put in? Yeah, we're working like crazy. And still we are making this dramatic increase in MQLs and SQLs, but still, minimal increase to the pipeline. Now again, we went from 28% across the board to 40, that's good, but that's not where our companies want us to be. Limited contribution to revenue, and still the relationship with sales is not good enough. So at the end of the day, your boss, your boss's boss are all wondering where this is going. So my point is, it's not just about scaling the old model. So I am very careful to never say in an event like this that the funnel's dead, because first of all, I don't think so, but secondly, that everybody's blogging about it or tweeting it. So the funnel's a very, very fundamental concept. I mean, it is, the pipeline makes sense, the SQL, MQL, those stages, those stage gates all make sense, but it's insufficient as a planning construct for our lead to revenue or our revenue management operations. And the first reason that it is it really does support that idea that it's a numbers game. The more you put into the top, some mystical process, gravity, whatever, will generate more out at the bottom, and that just isn't true. So one first fundamental mind shift concept I think everybody needs to take on board is, it's not about getting thousands of leads or tens of thousands of leads or hundreds of leads into the top of the funnel so that through some process of attrition, at the end of the day you get 10 or a dozen or 100 deals. That's not what it's about. It's about really understanding what is the process that will take a qualified lead and maximize your chance of turning that qualified lead into a customer. And once you've optimized that process, then scaling that process tens or hundreds or thousands of times. And that's again, that's where the funnel physics is totally different. So our goal now is just that. Take that single lead through an optimized process and then repeat that process. But still, what does it take? We still have those stage gates. We still have marketing qualified lead, sales qualified lead, pipeline opportunity. What does it take to move that prospect, that qualified lead through that process? And that takes me to the next problem with the funnel, which is it doesn't have any concept of the buyer journey. So if marketers are building our lead to revenue program with a funnel concept, then we're missing the biggest part, which is our job is actually to lead people through a buying process, to guide them through a buying process. And the funnel itself is blind to the buyer's journey. So, this is a slide I put together about a year ago now, just to really drive home the point that the funnel is not a linear thing, and the power of the buyer. I've done a webinar with Adam Blitzer, and I didn't want to use his headline for this, but his headline for this is "Don't Freak," but this is the buyer journey. And it's obviously the buyer has many sources of information. The little colored blocks are your website, the World Wide Web, email, social, events, many places where they find information about us cross-channel, and buyers control their own pace and their own path through this funnel. Now, this is another kind of Forrester lore that I thought was pretty interesting. But if you look at just kind of the dynamic that's going on with buyers right now and how fast it's changed, there are 3 stages there: pre-web, Web 1.0, and then what we call which is pretty much the internet. And then social web, which adds in social media on top of just the digital media. And if you look at the sources of information and what buyers knew in advance. So in the pre-web, the source of information for buyers about you and your products was your salespeople. So you had a very intelligent person who was able to adapt their message completely variably to whatever benefit that customer wanted, whatever stage in their buying process that customer was in, how much they knew. So you had a completely flexible delivery mechanism. And what your customer knew before they talked to that salesperson was very little. They might have some idea of your brand image, and they maybe had a little bit idea of what your products did. That changed, of course, when we had the web. Okay. Is that other little device around? This one might be out of battery. Okay, so just, well, somebody hopefully gets me, because I can talk on this slide for a little bit, but then I'm going to need to move on. But in the middle one, in the middle section there, with the, I like this one. I did like this one. Okay, so in the middle section, when we have the World Wide Web, basically they did know information through Google, that search that everybody starts with, search with, and they had some idea about your brand, features and benefits, some alternative comparisons. And then the social web has made it all completely different. Now all of a sudden, we have information you can't control at all. You could control your website. To some extent, you could control what was going on in the digital media about your company, but in the social web, you have no control whatsoever. So now, before people engage with you, they have an idea about your brand, your features, and your alternatives, comparisons, what your reputation is, what your customers think about you, a great deal of information about your pricing. So all of a sudden, your buyer has a lot more control. Okay, I just want to make sure it's not me. Try to just hit the green button. Okay, thank you. Okay. Can you guys just advance from there?
Crashed.
this is kind of funny because this morning when I was finalizing this presentation, I was actually late for a meeting, very important meeting, because my PC seized up and I lost the file. So it's now been delivered via a thumb drive to a completely different laptop. So maybe this is just a jinxed presentation.
We're stuck in the funnel.
Yes, exactly. So the point here is that your buyers are in control, and what are you going to do about it? And I'm trying to remember what slide comes next. But the thing I always go back to here is, you can't, buyers are in control, but no one's going to give us a break if we go back to our bosses and say, I really can't control the pipeline. I really can't I'm not very predictable about what kind of revenue or what kind of leads we're going to deliver because, hey, the buyer's in control. I mean, that's not going to fly with our bosses because as marketeers, we now have to step up to the responsibility to really drive people through their buying process. So not through our funnel or through our selling process, but to drive them through their buying process. And so and this is where it becomes so important for us to understand the behavioral signals that people are giving us. So I know there's a slide in here that talks about how deals used to start. And I threw this slide in because, again, for those of you who were in marketing, and B2B marketing before there was an internet, my first job out of college was one of the things I did was to buy yellow page listings in the major cities in the US. Because if someone happened to hear about us, see an ad, or hear about us through word of mouth, or even ran into us at a trade show, if they wanted to find us anywhere, we had to have a yellow page listing out there. So, of course, that's not the way deals start now. Deals start now with someone, as Matthew said, someone does 96%, 98% of people start their search with a website. So one of the first things I think we need to step up to is what I call the fine art of being found. And so what that means for everybody who is thinking about my outbound email campaigns, or my outbound email outreach, my campaigns, that's all great, but we also really need to take on board that we need to be found. Now, of course that means increasing our presence in digital media and social media, and what it also takes is for us to think about when people are looking for us, when they are likely to find us, what are they going to be looking for? And Matthew covered this very nicely, I thought, with people when they are going to be trying to find us, they are not looking for Gizmo 5.7, version 5.7. They don't care that you've now are at version 8.0. They have a problem, or they have a business issue that they're concerned with, or they're just trying to continually get better at being the managers and executives or leaders that they are. So and I thought this was a really great thing, and what Matthew was showing is in your early stage, in your attraction phase, your content and how you're going to attract people needs to be about them, about the problems they're having. Now, once you drive people to your website by putting, again, how do we do this? Part of it is, it's a lot of things, right? It's the kind of, it's our search engine marketing, it's our search engine optimization, it's our content management strategy, it's our thought leadership programs that create a lot of digital presence, that create the social buzz, that gets more and more people talking about us, that drive people back to our website. I saw a stat the other day that really amazed me, that from somebody else's research, not ours, but that only 26% of the people surveyed put a call to action in their Twitter content. So why be out there talking to people if you're not going to try to attract them and drive them back to you? Now, let's say we've been successful at advancing our slides. Okay, and we have. So, I'm just going to go through these fast. I've kind of covered these, I hope, that it's marketing's job. But to reinforce this with slide more, it is our job to drive people through the funnel, and there's three things I do want you to remember. One is, in order to take some control back over that funnel process, you need to get found, you need to stay relevant, and you need to engage. And we need to do that as marketing before we turn leads over to sales. I think Matthew covered this quite well, and it is, I always think of content is the currency we use to fuel our engagement. We did some, that recent survey I talked to you about marketing metrics and tactics. We surveyed, I think 300, it was about 200 marketers on what tactics they were using, what was effective for them. And the next slide that's not coming up actually shows the results. We asked some questions about content marketing. And what we saw was there are about 7 different types of content that people are using.